Why this short
Get in the water. Get in the water. Or I'll raise the tide so high. All of Ithaca will die.
is actually a cinematic masterpiece. Number 1, color symbolism. The dinosaur is green, which matches the surroundings, indicating that the dinosaur is blending in with the setting. The dinosaur is at home here. This is where he belongs. We can surmise then that the dinosaur may have lived a lush, quiet life that was very comfortable. Red and green are complementary colors on the color wheel, creating a contrast, which we can take to mean that there is something inside of the dinosaur that contrasts or conflicts within the dinosaur against their setting. But there's very little of it, and it's only in the mouth. Red can symbolize power, anger, strength, passion, love. So perhaps the dinosaur's experience of love and passion are only through what it says and not actually in its lived experience, because it is such a sedate life in the lush greenery where it lives. My character, on the other hand, has brown, which is warmth, stability, and groundedness. There is a sense of isolation with brown, so perhaps my character is a lone wolf. Tan also works with brown to create that grounded vibe, and in fashion creates a casual or relaxed look, indicating that my character is very comfortable and grounded. Then we've got the blue of my leggings, and it is associated with open spaces or freedom, trust, loyalty, sincerity, and undifferentiated chaos. It means in context of my brown and tan top, character has had to find order and meaning in undifferentiated chaos in order to get where we are, the dinosaur's home territory. My character has already been through something. The dinosaur should have an advantage in this situation, but he doesn't. I have obviously trained enough to be somewhat familiar and confident in the same environment related to the ground. I must be rooted to the ground, or at least familiar with the trees, which we see is visible and a similar color combination. The blue connects me to the water, which connects to the vocals saying "get in the water." It indicates that I am commanding this dinosaur to get out of his element, green, foresty nature area, and into my element, water. Notice how as I grab the dinosaur, we're left with just a very dull version of the dinosaur. Realistically, it's because the dinosaur shifted a bit when I grabbed it, and therefore less light was reflecting off of it, but symbolically this could mean that the dinosaur is not standing up for its morals and not growing to meet the challenge, me, and therefore condemning itself to a villain's arc. I, on the other hand, am illuminated more. My hair is starting to glow with an almost golden look. Gold can symbolize purity, divinity, and enlightenment, as well as wealth, extravagance, and riches. This change or addition of color to my character indicates that this is a character-defining moment for me, just as the duller shades of green for the dinosaur is a character-defining moment for him as well. Going back to the question we asked, why is the dinosaur disadvantaged? I would say that the dinosaur has rather flat character development because the colors are rather plain. And additionally, having the contrast between the earthy tones that would work well with the greens of the dinosaur paired with the blue indicates that my character has gone through character development. Number 2, contrast. My character contrasts from the setting very well color-wise because I'm not wearing green, whereas the dinosaur kind of blends in. As a result, I put myself in front of the greenery and put the dinosaur closer to the empty space that was more yellow-white from the sunset. However, simply having color contrast is not enough to establish depth or perception in a visual piece. Being a plastic inflatable dino sprinkler from Five Below, the dinosaur is able to reflect light very well, which separates it from the dark green background that it would otherwise blend into, where I am cast into shadows, only lit up by the environment that gets through the canopy of trees, as well as whatever is reflected off of the plastic surface of the dinosaur. Because the dinosaur has light cast on it and it reflects so much light, it indicates that the dinosaur is the good guy in this scenario, whereas I may be the bad guy because I'm coming from the shadows. However, if you take a second look at this and think about it analytically, it could also indicate something deeper. The dinosaur is facing the shadows and blending in with the background. The dinosaur is facing a conflict, yet instead of growing to meet the challenge, the dinosaur shrinks back into its history or familiar old habits. This could be the dinosaur's villain arc. In contrast, I am coming from the dark, stepping into the light, emotion in and of itself symbolizing that I may have been considered a villain before, but I am now becoming a hero as I take down this villain. The moment that I'm like throwing throwing the dinosaur away and lifting it above the ground, neither of us are really illuminated. There's a little bit on my leg indicating that I'm still grounded in this decision. My decision is not necessarily the bad thing, but everything else that my body is doing is not necessarily grounded. But the dinosaur is not reflecting a lot, and I'm not as illuminated as magically, which indicates that maybe I shouldn't have taken it this far. There's still a lot of character development left to go for this character, but my intentions were still good, and this dinosaur should have gone in the water as I originally intended. On a simply aesthetic level, this shot was filmed shadow side, meaning the light is coming from the opposite direction or a different direction from the camera, and I'm mainly looking at the shadows with little bits of highlights coming in from the light. This allows for more contrast between lights and darks, which ultimately gives more muscular definition. In this shot, it appears that I am exerting a lot of energy, power, and muscle to hold this dinosaur at bay, indicating that the dinosaur is indeed strong in its natural turf, just not stronger than me. Overall, the lighting enhances the symbolism already there. Number 3, patterns. Patterns can provide contrast, perspective, and depth, as well as simply give visual interest or weight to a piece. And all of those work together to create character in a visual piece. Patterns are just repeated shapes, so let's talk about shapes for a minute. The dinosaur is kind of a blob. You can look at it and identify it's a dinosaur, but if you only saw the silhouette, you may not think it was a dinosaur. My character, on the other hand, has quite the defined silhouette. I have a dynamic pose, and if I had lifted the sword a little bit higher, you would have been able to distinguish every limb separate from each other. There's a bit of a tangential line between my left and right arms, but even so, there is enough difference in contrast between lighting, colors, and other things that it's not too much of an issue. The green in the background is different from the green on the dinosaur because of patterns. The leaf shapes are different from the horizontal lines that make up the dinosaur. Additionally, the teeth are triangles, which admittedly are just because it's an inflatable dinosaur from Five Below, but it still serves to set it apart from the background because there are no true triangles like that anywhere else in this setting. Perhaps in my ear, but that's it. A lack of pattern is just as significant as a pattern. For example, the yellow-white in the back left corner of the background is essentially blank space. Our eyes are naturally going to be drawn away from blank space towards movement or action. My character's clothing and color patterns are quite simple. There's a little bit of decoration on the boots and on the side of the leggings, and the shirt has a somewhat striped pattern, but overall it's quite the blocky vibe, providing a calm focus for our eyes, which goes back to our symbolism of groundedness and tranquility. Number 4, leading lines. Leading lines do exactly as they advertise. They lead your eyes via a line of some sort to where your attention should be drawn. You are drawn by the sword to look alongside horizontally and see that this dinosaur is being threatened. As I step into frame, I'm leaning towards the dinosaur, and the dinosaur is leaning towards me. Our body positioning leans towards each other, meaning that we are focused on each other and not anything else. Symbolically, that could indicate that our problem is with each other and not anything else either. When I step forward and grab the dinosaur, we've got a lot of lines happening. I'm personally drawn to the contrast between my hair and my face, and that provides a leading line from my hairline all the way down to my shoulder, and then it changes at the elbow to follow the sword. My other arm also goes towards the dinosaur, meaning that I am watching myself threaten this dinosaur, not the dinosaur being threatened. This makes the action very active instead of passive. This contrasts the dinosaur's general lack of lines. There are the tension lines, but that's more of a texture thing or a pattern like I mentioned earlier. Both the lighting, shadows, and colors help define leading lines in here, and because the dinosaur is just a lump without any defined shape and also mostly green, there's not a lot of action with this dinosaur. That is also worsened by the fact that the dinosaur is just a plastic inflatable dinosaur floaty sprinkler from Five Below. Overall, I'd give this short an 8 out of 10 for cinematic composition. The only points being taken away for I didn't intend all of this, and that is seriously just a dinosaur sprinkler from Five Below.